We all knew and thought and believed that Bo Nickal would be on the card. Can't say that we all thought Kyle Daukaus would be on the card because, truth be told, when this was first announced, July 4th weekend of last year, he wasn't even in the UFC yet. He returned. He was fighting on the regional scene a year ago, and he may have just come back, but like it was not exactly in the plans. But here we go. It's Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus, and Bo Nickal is kind enough to join us right here and now to talk about it all. There he is. Hello, Bo. How are you?
I'm doing well, Ariel. I heard you in the last interview. Why are you telling lies?
About what? About what?
You said you don't root for fighters.
I don't root for fighters.
I know you root for me. Don't lie.
I like this Bo, by the way. You've been on fire. The past 24 hours has been your finest hour on social media.
Yeah, I figured out my lane a little bit, I think. It's just don't take it so serious, you know? You just got to mess with these guys.
You had this one tweet about, tell me why you're mad that I'm on the card and I don't really care. I'm just, this one. Tell me why you're mad that I'm on the White House card. I don't really care, just looking for engagement. And you got it. You nailed it. They took the bait. They took the bait. Are you feeling that? Are you getting that sentiment?
No, not really. I mean, there was a couple people I saw on, posts and stuff like, why the hell is this guy on the card? And it's like, I mean, I think 95% of people understand why I'm on the card. And yeah, I mean, I don't really feel that overall. I just, again, wanted some engagement. So it's all good.
I think if anything, I really like Kyle and his story. He was in studio not that long ago. I think it's a great story. And I like that there's an American versus American fight on the card. I think that might be it. Like, he's just not a big name. Why is Kyle your opponent? Maybe they were thinking someone bigger. I feel like if anything, that's the criticism for the fight as opposed to you being on the card. You get that sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that there's obviously a lot bigger names out there. And for me, there was different guys that I was asking for and stuff. And, there was a lot of guys matched up as well in the division at middleweight. And so, I think Kyle was the fight that made the most sense and also, he wanted to fight. So that's something that it's really out of my control. And I'm looking forward to just putting on a great performance regardless of who I compete against.
Was he on your radar as of late?
Not really, to be honest. We fought on the same card in MSG in November, and he got a big finish. And not really on my radar outside of that, but they brought the name, and of course I agreed. I think there was other fights again that I was asking for that weren't him, but those didn't materialize. And so when they brought him to the table and he agreed, then I was ready to go.
I'm fascinated by the process of getting on the card. When did you find out, and how did you find out?
Well, the UFC had chatted with me, after my last fight, basically saying that like the next fight's the White House. And for me, it was obviously a great opportunity that I was excited about. Timing wise, I would love to have gotten a fight, had a little shorter layoff, right? It'll be 7 months for me. But with that being said, the opportunity is once in a generation, once in a lifetime, once ever. And so for me, no, I basically knew I was going to be on the card right after my last fight. I just didn't know who.
When did you find out it's Kyle?
They started bringing his name up pretty recently. Like, it wasn't really something that I knew for a long amount of time. So yeah, it was, a lot of the stuff that, is going on behind the scenes and everything. Like, I feel like generally fighters are more privy to, but for this one, they really didn't really they kept everything pretty tight-lipped, of course, I think just because of the situation and wanting to put the best card out that they could.
Yeah, Kyle wrote on Twitter that he found out on Saturday that he was officially on the card.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's what. Did you see his tweet about being on the card? I thought it was a banger as well. I enjoyed it. You guys, the two of you, have been doing great on social media. I think we have it. We'll show it to you. Here it is. Here's what he posted. I thought that was good.
That is good. I like it.
As everyone's throwing a fit around him. You mentioned names that you asked for. I also saw you say you asked for Colby. What happened when you asked for him?
Yeah, of course. I think that Colby was, again, a guy that wasn't really on my radar until the Real American Freestyle event in January, and he kind of spouted off about me quite a bit, and I was like, okay, well, we can fight. And then post match for him, he said that he wanted to move up to middleweight and fight at 185. So I was like, wow, well, this is perfect. Everything's lining up, and let's do it. And so obviously asked for him, and the UFC tried to make the fight. I know they talked to him extensively, and long story short, he just wouldn't do it. I think even told him like, hey, if you want to be on this card, you have to fight Bo, and he said no. So he would rather be a coward and not fight me than be on the White House card, which is a once in a lifetime, once ever opportunity. So I think that says pretty much everything about the guy, that he's willing to talk like that and make those statements and tell me I'm easy work, and then he, given this huge opportunity to compete against me, still wouldn't do it.
What's wild to me about that is that he has made his persona into like the Trump guy, right? Every chance he's wearing the hat, like he went over the top with it when not a lot of athletes were doing that, especially back in like 2018, 2019. And now you get the opportunity to fight there, and you said no based on what you're telling us. If what you're telling us is true, and I have no reason to not believe you, because of what? Because he thought it wasn't a good matchup? He didn't want to go up and
I'll kill him.
Golly.
I mean, everyone knows it would be basically just like leading a lamb to slaughter, which, it is what it is, but I think the people want to see it, and it would have been an exciting fight. But for him in his position, I understand, because on one sense, I understand, because you're literally going out there just to get killed. And on the other hand, it's like, man, it is a fight. There's always a chance, you can throw a punch, somebody could slip on a banana peel, blah, blah, blah. And it is the White House, right? Like, this is never going to happen again. I was surprised. I thought that the fight was going to get made just because of the circumstance. But, he is a coward. Like, at the end of the day, he backed out, didn't want to do it. And that, I think, taints his legacy a little bit, which I don't think he really had much of a legacy to begin with. He lost every big fight he was in. But, it would have been nice to kind of really, like, sweep him out the door in his fighting career, but it is what it is.
Do you know if they actually went to him and offered him?
100%.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And he said
he tried to lie and say, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Like they 100% offered him, tried to make the fight. And then he was in the media saying, oh, I would fight Bo. Well, they offered him the fight for a fact. So, I don't understand why it didn't, why he didn't take it at that point if he's saying this stuff in the media.
What do you make of the criticism of the card?
The reason that it's being criticized, in my view, is because the precedent that's been set and the expectation of, talking about this card for an entire year. And I think that no matter really like what you did, it just wasn't going to match up. It's like, people are so excited about it that you've got the two biggest draws in the UFC right now, that are fighting actively on the card, which is insane. And in Pereira and Ilya. And then, I think that, there was just this crazy precedent set that people were expecting just unrealistic things. And now, the card's going to be amazing. I think it's one of the best cards, ever. And there's just such a high expectation that people are disappointed for whatever reason.
Have you been given any sort of like intel, details? Okay, it's going to work like this. The locker room's going to be here. The Oval Office is really going to, like, do you know how this is actually going to play out? That's part of the appeal. The sell, so to speak, is just how this is all going to look, right? That's a big part of it. Do you have any idea?
Zero.
Wow.
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
That is unbelievable. What do you expect as far as like your profile? Do you think this is going to be great for the Bo Nickal brand? Just to be I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people watching.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I just like so many people have reached out already, like seeing the announcement and stuff, and people are very excited. So I think this is a great opportunity. I don't see how this isn't the most watched UFC event of all time, just with the circumstance. So being on the card is definitely a big opportunity.
Have you spoken to the president himself about your involvement, your placement on the card?
I spoke to him a while back before my first match in RAF. This was actually like in August of 25, and we talked about the card a little bit, and just kind of said like this was so early that I hadn't even had a fight booked for November yet, and basically said that like it was kind of a done deal at that point. just given our relationship. But yeah, I know he's obviously pumped about it.
Do you know if he asked for you to be on the card?
I don't think he had to. I think that it was kind of understood already that like I needed to be on the card. And like I said, as soon as my fight ended in MSG in November, they were like, hey, it's White House next. So that was where it was already kind of understood in my mind. It wasn't like a tough thing to get done. It was more just about the opponent.
It seems inevitable to me that Gable Stevenson's coming to the UFC. I thought maybe they'd put him on this card. Who knows? Maybe last minute they do. But he's on some kind of roll to start his career. Have you been watching how he's doing, and do you see any sort of similarities between like him coming over and the way in which you came over?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been following him. I think he's a unbelievable athlete, just a generational talent. So it's exciting to see him do well. And I think he's obviously bound to, be in the UFC and compete at a high level. And, him being on the White House card would be super, super cool. I don't know like what his discussions have been like with the UFC and whether that's realistic. I know they said potentially there was going to be one more fight, or if he's even in the mindset of like, hey, I want to be in the UFC right now. So, overall, I've definitely been following along with his career and rooting for him, but I don't really know any details.
Yeah. No, and I know that it as of right now it hasn't been made official, but it seems inevitable that he's coming over. I thought maybe him, Kayla Harrison, she's obviously hurt, so it feels like you're one of those like true blue all-American guys that's on this card. You've represented the country. You've had a great collegiate career and all that stuff. Do you feel that pressure? I know you're not going up against a foreigner, so to speak, but like to represent, to do something great. The president might be there. I would imagine he is there. It's the 250th. Do you feel like this is a moment in which you have to step up? You ordinarily do step up, but it feels like the stake and the spotlight is different this time.
I hadn't really thought about it until you brought it up. Obviously, like in my mind, I know the opportunity is great, and so I guess as far as like the feeling of like pressure and having to perform and this or that, like I already feel a lot of pressure for myself because I work hard and I want to do well. But with this circumstance, I would say I see more as like a positive of like this is a great opportunity for me to go out there, put on a show, showcase my skills, how much improvement I've made over the past year, and I feel like more just grateful for it versus like nervous or afraid. Of course, you're going to have nerves, and there's going to be those thoughts that creep into your mind about like, oh, what if this happens or that happens? But I would say like I feel a lot of gratitude for the opportunity.
Do you feel as though this is the moment in which like your career goes to the net? Like this is the righting of the wrong from last year? Last year was a bit of a step back or a setback, if you will, but all goes according to plan for you. You're right back in that spot, if not in a greater spot.
Yeah, I think a little bit, when I look at my career, for me, it's gone definitely differently than what I expected. Like if I had to map it out before I started fighting and tell you how it was going to go, it's definitely been very different from what I thought. But it's been interesting and fun, and I think that I just focus on improvement and getting better, and I just enjoy it. Like I love fighting and I love training, and getting to do this every day is just amazing. So I feel like the progression of my career isn't something that I'm like thinking about and stressing about. It's more just like I get to do something that I enjoy every day, and I'm grateful for that. And I think that, I know I can continue to get better, so I'm just going to do that.
Just curious, when you say it didn't go as you thought, do you mean in a good way, bad way? What do you mean by that?
I wouldn't say good or bad, just different, like I think that when I'm always, I guess I do tend to like kind of try to plan stuff out and see how things are going to work, in my mind before they happen. But I think that just the trajectory and the way my career has gone, I would have expected it to be a lot slower, different types of fights. Like it seems like every single fight I'm in is like this massive thing. Every card I've been has been either pay-per-view main card or now, it's going to be at the White House. So like, I didn't necessarily expect that coming into my career. I mean, my fourth pro fight was a main card UFC numbered event. So like, that just wasn't really in my mind coming in. And, now we're here. This will be like my 9th or 10th fight. And, I'm fighting at the White House. So, I figured I would still be fighting in like a regional promotion at this point, but, yeah, it's been fun, and I enjoy the, excitement of it all. And I enjoy all the lessons that I've been able to learn. I feel like I've been able to learn so much about myself, and, just continue to build confidence and continue to improve, and just get better. That's something that, again, I'm very grateful for. And it's just been a lot of lessons that I've been able to learn, which is fun. That part's fun for me.
Are you going Kurt Angle on us here, like the American hero who's actually the heel? Is that what you're doing?
I don't know. It's so weird. Like, again, that's something that is kind of in line with what I'm saying, where it was hard to predict. Like, I never thought, like, coming into a sport, like the media stuff would be what it was, as far as like a lot of people, feeling very negatively towards me or having just like strong opinions towards me. Again, in wrestling, it's like I had a little bit of that, but it was mostly positive. And I think that there's a lot of situations where I brought that onto myself, but I just kind of like am at a point where it's just part of my life, and I just try to have fun with it. And it's like it's almost just not real, because any interaction that I've ever had in person, and we've talked about this before, it's always positive. But like the online stuff and the media stuff has been just really different from what I would expect. And I think, again, I'm not going to sit here and say like that I don't have any accountability in that. I think a lot of things that I've said have brought that on, but it definitely was not like something that I expected.
I feel like there's a little bit of freedom, pardon the pun, that comes with just saying like, I don't care and I'm going to mess around online, right? Like to not hold on to every comment or negative thing that's thrown your way, and to just be like, yeah, I'm going to try to turn the tables on you guys here and lean into this. That's probably a little bit freeing, right?
For sure. And I think really what it has to do with is that when I would get these responses, I was almost confused by them. Like, whoa, like, why are you guys feeling this way about me? And then that would make me kind of defensive and feel like, oh, I need to like defend myself, where these people are saying these things about me that I don't think are true. And I realized, I guess, twofold. One, like the perception of the things that I'm saying and how I'm like handling certain interviews. Like, I think that there's a lot of times where the questions are framed in a certain way, and then, we get the answer from me and I'm like feeding into it. And then it's like, so I got to take a little bit of accountability there and know like, oh, like I'm kind of like feeding the machine in a way. And then also just understanding that like, this isn't really real. It is that like machine and that media monster that's like running through and getting the responses and generating the views and clicks and stuff, and not really like taking it to heart and trying to just like be myself and mess around, versus feeling like I'm not like a defensive person. I don't want to always have to like feel like, oh, I need to defend myself, defend my own honor. Like, I think that's just weird. So I'd rather just kind of like have fun with it and not take it so seriously and to heart.
That doesn't happen when you speak to me, right? Those types of...
I think that you do a good job of framing the questions in a way that you get like deep into like the mindset of a fighter, which I like better. But I think that also like you hit the hot button topics that if I choose to like say what's going to get clicks, then it's going to do it. So, but it's what people want to hear and know. So it's twofold. It's not like, oh, you're setting me up. It's like you're asking a question that people want to know, and I can choose to answer it in a way that doesn't really excite people, or I can choose to answer in a way that gets a lot of, interest. So like, that's kind of on me, to decide that.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take that. By the way, you mentioned RAF. You've competed for them a couple times. Can I get your take on this Arman Giorgio situation? What do you, as like a true blue hardcore wrestler, was someone in the wrong last week? Did someone cross the line? Obviously, we know what happened in the end, the brawl and all that stuff. But like, was that too much? Was that too physical? What do you think of the match?
I think that I don't really put blame or put anybody in the wrong there. It's just like two guys wanted to compete, and things escalated further than they needed to. But that's what happens when you put two competitive guys in a situation that both want to win and both have like big reputations to uphold. And So, I was a little surprised with how far it went, but I don't really think like one guy's at fault or anything like that. It just was like one thing after another escalated, but it was definitely exciting.
What about the takedown or not? Arman says it was a takedown. Giorgio says it wasn't. In your opinion, is that considered a takedown?
So the refs didn't give the points, so it wasn't a takedown.
Wow.
I don't know how to argue with that. You can say this, that, whatever. Oh, it should have been a takedown, but the refs didn't call it. So, I wouldn't even go say like what I think. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like they didn't award it. So, you can't say like, oh, I took him down. There's no stat on the stat sheet that said he got a takedown. But yeah, that's not really. I wouldn't say that's like my opinion. I would say that's just what happened, I guess, objectively.
How would you rate Giorgio as a wrestler?
I think he's really solid. I think that people in the wrestling community have looked at his record, I guess, in college, this or that, and kind of like thrown some shade on it. But the reality is, like, when I watch him compete and look at his skills, this guy's really good. He's really talented. College wrestling is really hard where, the most talented guy and the most skilled guy isn't the guy that really wins. You're dealing with a lot of stuff. You're like 20 years old, going to class, balancing all these things, and then trying to compete at a high level. So, the record is what it is. But when I watch him, I think you got to respect his skills. And even if you look at the match with Arman, he did take Arman down. So Arman's a guy that's competed, for UFC titles and with the top of the top grapplers in the world. So like, if you can take a guy like that down, that says a lot.
Feels like they've really caught lightning in a bottle here. Like the momentum from the first show just in August to now, like the interest and you're getting the matchups and you're getting some juiciness here. Is this moving along quicker than you thought?
Yeah, way quicker. And it's a testament to the hard work that Chad Bronstein, Izzy, these guys have put in to put on a great show and just make it exciting for the fans, and also moving very fast. Eric Bischoff's another guy that's put a ton of work into this and made a huge impact on RAF and the wrestling community. And it's just getting people excited because this has been needed for a long time. You've needed some people that understand business, that understand production, and understand how to tell a story to come into the sport and really give it its due, because that just hasn't happened in wrestling ever, right? So, now you have people that understand that other part of the entrepreneurial, I guess, endeavor. And I think that it's created a real exciting atmosphere, and it's just been fun. So I think everybody wants to be a part of it now. You have every single fighter talking about wanting to be in RAF, and every single, international wrestler wanting to do it, and now they're putting shows on consistent. So what they're doing has been really incredible.
We getting Nickal versus Sadulayev, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? Soon?
Yeah, Sadulayev. Yeah, I would love that match. That'd be great. So, I think that obviously I have the White House card ahead of me, but, he is a guy that is definitely on my radar after signing with RAF. So it would be a fun match for me. And yeah, I would love to compete against him. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time, and I think it would be a matchup that a lot of people would want to see.
By the way, I don't know if you know this. I'm a big wrestling guy myself, and I was watching the Big Ten championships yesterday. 7 of 10 weight classes won by Penn State. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Why not 10 of 10?
That's a great question. I expected 10 of 10 going in, but it's tough. Big Ten's the toughest conference in the country, and you have guys that are, they'll place, lower in the Big Ten than they do at the Nationals. It's just a tough tournament. But the dominance that Penn State has shown, this year is pretty incredible. And it's been exciting to watch. I love watching these young guys coming up, and it's really interesting having been there just, 5-6 years ago and seeing the progress that they've made and how ready they are at a young age. And it's just exciting for the development of the sport, and I love seeing people compete at a high level, so that's always fun.
With the national championship coming up, is there one guy that you think could be a guy that we're talking about, like you or Gable, that will transition over to MMA?
It's so different now because these kids are making so much money with NIL. They don't really have to even think about going into MMA, and they can pursue wrestling with between NIL money in college and then having RAF. I don't think that MMA is as much on these guys' radars. Like, I know that Big Ten heavyweight champ Tay Gadali has talked about fighting. AJ Ferrari has talked about fighting, but I would say it's going to be tough now because they can, compete through college. They can then try to wrestle the World Olympic Championships, and then they can do RAF every month. It's like there's no need to really like do anything else, and they're going to get all of their competitive, I guess, juices out, and also be able to like compete in an environment like RAF that brings a ton of eyes and is really exciting. So, like for me, I know when I graduated college, that was one of the many reasons that I decided to transition to MMA is there was no opportunity to compete in exciting events. Like the World and Olympic Championships have, 1,000 people in the crowd and it's the same guys every year. But now with RAF, you can have exciting matchups every month. So I don't know that MMA is as much on these guys' radar.
Fair enough. Last thing before I let you go, you're a Penn State guy, Daukaus a Philly guy, sort of like a Pennsylvania sort of turf war, if you will, at the White House. Who do you think is the fan favorite as far as Penn, like the whole state is concerned? Not Penn State, the state of Pennsylvania, because he's like a proud Philly guy too. You're a Pennsylvania, Penn State is like sort of, was that Happy Valley? What is that called?
Yeah. I'm in the, I'll give him the eastern part of the state.
Okay.
I'll take the western part of the state. I'll take State College and the Whippeal. I think that if you look at it historically, most of the tough guys come out of Pittsburgh. I don't really know there's too many tough fighters coming out of Philly, are there?
What? I mean, Rocky, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just joking. No, but there's a lot of I think it's cool to see that area in general thriving in combat sports, right? Like you have a lot of tough guys coming out of Philly, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, obviously like huge wrestling community. I mean, I even think about like in the Northeast in general, a lot of those guys that are, with John Danaher, Gordon Ryan, they kind of originated in the Northeast. So, that's definitely like a hotbed for fighting culture and combat sports, which, I'm proud to be there, proud to represent. And it's definitely cool to compete against a guy from the same area, no shade towards Kyle at all. It'll be fun. I think he's a tough fighter, a tough guy, and yeah, we're gonna have a good fight.
Well, very happy for you. Congratulations on getting this honor. What a big deal! It's really going to be quite the scene. So
I thought you're on the card too, right? You versus Sean O'Malley.
Some might say this is the closest that I'll ever get to the White House, and you know what? I'm okay with that. My allegiances are being tested, as you saw earlier, but I'm down the middle. And I like Kyle a lot as well. So I'm just hoping that everyone has fun and remains healthy. Look at that, Freedom 250. You like that logo? You like that name, Freedom 250?
Yeah, let's go. It looks good.
It's a wild.
I do think if you want me on your show again, that you got to pick a side. So
now, what is this? Why do I have to pick sides now?
You have to. That's the rules. I'm setting them.
All right, I'll think about it. Okay, I'll tell you off text. Thank you so much. All the best to you, man, and good luck in training. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
There he is, Bo Nickal. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.